What if I told you that almost every problem you have, your anxiety, your regret, your stress, your overthinking, every single bit of it, does not actually exist right now? Right now, in this exact moment, as you watch this video, you are okay. You're breathing. Your heart is beating. The world around you is simply here. And yet, most of us spend the majority of our lives living somewhere else entirely. We live in our heads. We replay conversations from 3 years ago. We worry about things that haven't happened yet. We plan, we ruminate, we catastrophize, and we completely miss the only thing that is ever actually real. This moment. Right now. That idea, as radical as it sounds, is at the heart of one of the most transformative books ever written. A book that has sold over 10 million copies, been translated into 33 languages, and changed the lives of people from all walks of life, from Oprah Winfrey to everyday people who stumbled upon it at the lowest points of their lives. The book is called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And today, I'm going to walk you through the entire book, the core ideas, the deep insights, and most importantly, how you can actually use them to change the way you experience your life. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might never look at your own mind the same way again. Let's get into it. Before we dive into the ideas, let's briefly understand the man behind them, because his story is unlike almost any other author you'll encounter. Eckhart Tolle was not a professor of philosophy. He didn't have a thriving career or a comfortable life when he wrote this book. Quite the opposite. By his late 20s, Tolle was living in a state of profound depression and suicidal despair. He describes feeling an unbearable heaviness, a constant sense of dread, a deep hatred for his own existence. One night at age 29, he woke up in the middle of the night in absolute terror. And then, something shifted. He had a sudden realization. I cannot live with myself any longer. And then he noticed something strange about that thought. If I cannot live with myself, who is the I and who is the myself? Are there two of me? That question cracked something open. He fell into a deep sleep. And when he woke up the next morning, the world looked completely different. The heaviness was gone. He felt a deep peace he had never known. He spent the next 2 years sitting on park benches in a state of quiet bliss. Many people around him thought he was homeless or mentally ill. What he had experienced, he would later come to understand, was a sudden and involuntary dissolution of the ego, an awakening into the present moment. It took him years to translate that experience into language, and the result was The Power of Now. First self-published in 1997, then picked up by a major publisher, then catapulted to global fame when Oprah featured it on her show. Now, whether you take the spiritual dimensions of his story literally or metaphorically, the wisdom in this book stands on its own. So let's get into the core ideas. The first and most important idea in the entire book is this: you are not your mind. Read that again. You are not your mind. For most of us, this sounds absolutely insane. Of course I am my mind. My mind is me. My thoughts, my memories, my opinions. That's who I am. But Tolle challenges this completely. He says, watch your thoughts for a moment. Notice them arising. Notice them fading. Notice that you are the one observing the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. There is the thinker, and there is the observer of the thinker. And Tolle says, the real you is the observer. He calls this the shift from identification with the mind to awareness itself, and this is foundational to everything else in the book. Here's a simple exercise he suggests. Try to catch the next thought before it arises. Just wait for it. Watch the gap. What happens when you do that? The mind goes quiet. There's a stillness, a presence, and in that presence, that's you. That's the real you. Not the noise, the awareness behind the noise. Now, why does this matter so much? Because when you are fully identified with your thoughts, when you believe you are your mind, you are at the mercy of every thought that arises. If your mind says you're worthless, you feel worthless. If your mind says everything is falling apart, you feel panic. But when you can step back and observe those thoughts as just mental events, not facts, not you, then you have a kind of freedom that no external circumstance can take away. This is the starting point of the power of now. Now here's where things get really interesting, and for many people, really personal. Tolle introduces a concept he calls the pain body. He describes the pain body as an accumulation of old emotional pain, a kind of invisible energy field that lives inside you. Every time you experienced emotional pain in your life, childhood wounds, heartbreaks, failures, trauma, a residue was left behind. Over time, these residues combine into what Tolle calls the pain body. And here's the thing about the pain body. It is alive and it feeds on more pain. You know that feeling where something small happens, a mildly critical comment from a colleague, a slight delay in a text response, and suddenly you feel a disproportionate surge of hurt, anger, or sadness? That's not just you overreacting. That's your pain body activating. It uses that small trigger as a doorway to flood you with accumulated emotional pain from the past. The pain body can be dormant for days or weeks, and then suddenly something happens. A tone of voice, a specific phrase, even a time of year. And it wakes up. And when it does, it takes over your thinking. Your thoughts become increasingly negative, increasingly dramatic, increasingly dark. And you feel absolutely convinced that this is just reality. This is just the truth about your life. But it's not. It's the pain body using your mind to keep itself alive. So what do you do with it? Tolle says, you observe it. You don't try to fight it, suppress it, or analyze it away. You simply bring the light of consciousness to it. The moment you can say, I notice I am in pain right now, rather than I am pain right now, something shifts. You are no longer fully identified with it, and the pain body cannot survive in the presence of conscious observation. It needs unconsciousness to keep running. Your awareness is the antidote. This concept alone has helped millions of people understand patterns of suffering they couldn't explain before. Okay, we're about halfway through, and I want to pause for a second, because I know some of what we're covering might feel abstract, spiritual even. Like it sounds nice, but doesn't quite connect to your Monday morning, your relationship arguments, your work stress. So I want to make you a promise. The second half of this breakdown is where Tolle gets practical. We're going to talk about how to actually access the present moment. Specific techniques he gives you. We're going to talk about why your relationships may be suffering because of unconscious patterns. And we're going to talk about what it actually means to surrender, not in a passive, give-up kind of way, but in a way that might be the most powerful thing you can do when life is hard. If this video is resonating with you so far, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It genuinely helps this content reach people who need it. And if you want more deep dives like this one, subscribe. I release these every week. Now, let's get back into it. So if the goal is to live in the present moment, how do you actually do that? This isn't just a philosophy to admire. Tolle gives you real, practical entry points. 1. Body awareness. The single fastest way to return to the present moment, Tolle says, is to bring your attention into your body. Not thinking about your body, but actually feeling it from the inside. Feel your hands right now. Don't look at them. Just feel the inner energy of them. The slight tingling, the warmth, the aliveness. That inner body energy is always present. And when your attention is there, you are here. You cannot be in the past or future if you are feeling your hands. This sounds almost embarrassingly simple, but try it. Actually try it right now. Feel your hands. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your chest rising and falling. You just came back to the present moment. 2. Using ordinary moments as portals. Tolle talks about how everyday activities, washing dishes, walking, eating, even waiting for a traffic light, are constant opportunities to practice presence. Instead of treating these moments as obstacles to get through so you can get to the important part of your day, treat them as portals. When you wash dishes, just wash dishes. Feel the water. Notice the sensation. Be fully there. This is not passive. This is one of the most radical acts of consciousness you can perform in a world that constantly pulls you into distraction. 3. Accepting what is. One of the most powerful passages in the book is when Tolle explains that most human suffering is not caused by circumstances. It is caused by our resistance to circumstances. Something happens, and then we add a layer of, "This shouldn't be happening." We argue with reality. We fight against what is already here, and that fighting, that inner conflict, is where the suffering lives. When you stop arguing with the present moment and instead fully accept what is happening, not passively, but as a conscious choice, the suffering dramatically reduces. The situation may still be difficult, but the extra layer of torment we add through resistance falls away. Tolle puts it simply: whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. One of the most mind-bending sections of the book deals with our relationship to time, and specifically with what Tolle calls psychological time versus clock time. Clock time is practical and necessary. You use it to make appointments, plan your week, learn from the past, to avoid making the same mistakes. That's fine. That's functional. But psychological time is something else entirely. It's when your mind uses time as a way to define your identity and find your worth, always living either in memory or in anticipation. Always feeling like the present moment is just a bridge to somewhere better. Always believing that you will finally be okay, happy, fulfilled, complete when something in the future happens. When I get the promotion, when the relationship improves, when I lose the weight, when I have more money, when the kids are older. When. Tolle calls this the not yet trap, and it is the primary way the ego keeps you from ever feeling at peace, because there is always another not yet. Always another goal to reach before you allow yourself to arrive. And here's the brutal truth Tolle delivers with remarkable clarity. The future never actually arrives. When the future comes, it comes as the present. And if you have not learned to be present now, you will not be present then either. You will simply be waiting for the next future. This is why so many people achieve their goals and feel empty, because the happiness they expected from the achievement wasn't stored in the achievement. It was always available in the present. They just couldn't access it because they were always somewhere else. The ego, Tolle explains, is essentially a collection of thoughts and stories about who you are. It needs constant confirmation through approval, achievement, possessions, grievances to feel like it exists. The ego lives in time. It draws its identity from the past and seeks its validation in the future. But when you become present, when you step out of the stream of psychological time, the ego becomes quiet. And what's left is a kind of simple, effortless aliveness. Not happiness in the excited jumping up and down sense, but a deep okayness. A peace that is not dependent on anything. Now let's talk about surrender. Because Tolle devotes a significant portion of the book to this, and it is deeply misunderstood. When most people hear the word surrender, they think of giving up, weakness, passivity, accepting mistreatment, lying down while the world rolls over you. That is not what Tolle means, not even close. Tolle's concept of surrender is about your inner relationship to the present moment, not your outer actions. He describes two layers to every situation: the outer situation and your inner response to it. You can change the outer situation. You can take action, set boundaries, leave a job, end a relationship, advocate for yourself loudly. All of that is fine. All of that can be done with full power and clarity. But the inner layer, the part where you fight against the reality of what is happening right now, the part where you say, "I refuse to accept this moment," that is what surrender addresses. Tolle says, surrender is accepting the form of the present moment. What is already here, while still doing whatever needs to be done. It's the difference between two surgeons. One performs a difficult operation while tense, anxious, and fighting against the difficulty of it. The other performs the same operation in a state of focused, clear-eyed acceptance, fully present, fully responding, without inner resistance. Who do you think performs better? Surrenders the second surgeon. It is not doing less. It is doing everything from a place of inner peace rather than inner conflict. And practically speaking, when you face something genuinely hard in life, an illness, a loss, a failure, the suffering is almost never just from the thing itself. It's from the layer of, this is wrong, this shouldn't be. I can't accept this. Tolle is not asking you to pretend the hard thing is fine. He's asking you to stop adding a war on top of the pain, because the war always hurts more than the wound. So let's bring it all together. The power of now is ultimately asking you one question. Where are you? Not your body. You know where that is. But you, your attention, your awareness, the place where you actually live your life moment to moment. Where is it? Because if you're like most people, and I include myself in this, you are rarely here. You're in a conversation that happened last week, or a worry about next month, or a loop of the same thought you've had 100 times before. And all the while, your actual life is happening. Right here, in this room, in this breath, in this moment that will never come again. Tolle isn't asking you to abandon your ambitions, stop planning, or check out of the world. He's asking you to stop treating the present moment as an inconvenience on the way to where you're going. Because this moment, exactly this one, is not in your way. It is the way. You don't need to have a dramatic awakening like Tolle did. You just need to practice returning, again and again, to the one place where life is actually lived. Feel your body. Notice your breath. Let thoughts pass like clouds without grabbing onto them. And whenever you catch yourself living somewhere other than now, don't judge yourself. Just come back. That's the whole practice. And over time, day by day, moment by moment, it changes everything. If this breakdown was valuable to you, share it with someone who needs it. And if you want to go deeper, I highly recommend reading the actual book. There is so much more nuance and wisdom than any summary can capture. I'll link it in the description below. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, stay present.